Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Friday, August 16th, 2024, and we are well past the halfway mark of the 100-day challenge. I'm so excited. I've had so many of my friends and my buddies on over the last, 2.5 months right now, that it's just been so much fun. But today, today my buddy is here. Whenever we see each other, it's like old home week. She has become a sister of mine. Mary-Frances is in the house. What's happening, Mary-Frances?
I love that evil little chuckle you made. Because Lord only knows what we'll be up to.
You and I have been in so many different events, and we met through Secret Knock. Shout out to Greg Reed. First thing I got to ask you, you coming to Vegas in September?
Hell yeah.
All right, awesome. Yeah, Secret Knock's first Vegas event is September 11th and 12th. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have a blast. And I get to hang out with my buddy, Mary-Frances, who likes to stand in the back, watch.
Yes.
And then walk up to people and basically say, so what brought you here? And learn all about them. You are so much fun. I knew you for over a year before I even knew what you did. It was just, that's my buddy, Mary-Frances. And she's always here, and it's so much fun to see her, and da 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 da. But before we get into all of that, I got to ask, how's the grandson? What's going on? It's summer.
Oh my gosh, I didn't get to have him this summer. That was a great big bubble buster. And that's okay. So I do have another grandson on the way. He's due in November. So that'll be my third grandchild. So I'll have two grandsons and a granddaughter.
Okay, so just put it out there. My birthday's the 15th of November. I have no problem. Born on my birthday. And, Terrence, I'm Teresa. Terrence is a great name. Just throwing it out there from a great aunt.
They're actually naming him after my deceased father. So his name's going to be Charlie. And he's actually due on my son's birthday. So Josie was born 3 days after her mother. So I've kind of found that to be quite coincidental.
Wow. Well, my dad's name was Charles, so close enough.
There you go.
That's family. That's family. I want to talk to you about fear, because you'll stand in the back, you'll stand in the corner, and then somebody, Greg Reed, somebody will say, Mary-Frances, and you just hand you a mic and you're on. Right. Have you always been that way, or did you have to work your way through fear?
When called out, I am not as fearful as stepping up and volunteering, so to say. I do, and you've called me out on this before as being the wallflower, and it doesn't always have its disadvantages depending how you use it. To be afraid and to literally try to blend in the background is not a good thing. But stepping out of your comfort zone and facing your fears is such a great, great accomplishment. And, for so many years, I was in an abusive relationship. And why was the reason I was afraid to leave? Because I was afraid of taking care of my children and living on my own. Mm-hmm. And the reality was I was actually taking care of my children and providing for them on my own, because my husband was unemployed and he was an absent person, even sitting in a room.
Wow.
So, what was I afraid of now that I look back? And, is it the fear of not being abused anymore? That sure as hell wasn't it. And unfortunately, it took a gun to my head to realize that I needed to get out. And, the brave little 16-year-old daughter standing up and looking her father in the face between he and I and just saying, Dad, give up. Can't you tell she doesn't love you anymore? Just let her go. So sometimes you don't know how to overcome fear until you're put into a position where you have no choice but to come over fear. I find when I look back and at something I was afraid of, I can look back in that moment and just kind of sit with myself and say, what happened in my past that has made me be like this? Mm-hmm. And then try to remember that age and try to just sit and have like a conversation in my head with myself at that age and give reassurance. So that way, that you're safe. And, why do you feel this way? What is going on? And, just analyze those fears. Because as I have found out that when you suppress emotions, not only do you suppress them and they fester, but emotion weight becomes physical weight. And I've been doing a lot of shedding of both here recently. So it's very empowering to overcome your fears.
I was gonna, I didn't ask you before we started, but you look amazing. You've lost how
90
much? At
pounds.
least 90?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Yes.
because I'm looking at you and I'm going, she looks amazing, but I didn't clear it before we got on live and I didn't want to just throw it out there. You look fantastic, my sister.
Thank you.
And that you just sharing that moment, that story just now explains a lot. Because when you're in an event, when somebody, especially a woman, is having a moment, you're the first one there. You're the first one with the hug. You're the first one saying it's okay. It's standing your power. And now that explains why you're so much, supportive of the little guy and the little girl, that you're
Mhm.
right there. I didn't know that. And thank you for sharing that. We talked a little bit about it, but you never shared like that on the show itself. So I want to thank you for that. What would you tell someone who finds themselves in a situation today that feels there's no way out? Maybe it's domestic violence, or maybe it's just they're stuck in their job. What would you tell them about, finding their way out?
It really came to a head when I read something that said that a child will thrive better in a house with two separate happy parents than in one house with two miserable fighting parents. And, when I thought of that, that was another thing that helped me move on. But really, if you are a plant and you are in the dark and you're not being watered and you're not being fertilized, you're not going to grow. And a human is just the same way. If we don't nurture ourselves and we don't sun ourselves and we don't water ourselves and put ourselves in a pretty little pot, dress up nicely, we're just going to be miserable. And why live a miserable life? There's
Hmm.
help out there. Just all you have to do is ask. Is just ask. There are so many resources out there. And Tiga, I know you are an excellent source and you know people who know people who know people. So, it's just ask. And, I was not into domestic violence where I was beaten. I did not have physical bruises on my body. And, nobody could see because I kept everything held so deep down inside. And deep down inside led to 425 pounds because I was miserable. And, I worked with women who came in with bruises and aches and pains. And, had one woman who I kept telling her, there is a way out. You don't have to stay. You're really not happy. You're just dependent. And there's that codependency. And, until someone is ready to be broken from any addiction, and unfortunately, domestic abuse can be, because they see that as a sign of attention and they think it's affection. And
Yeah.
that is so sad. But there are ways out. And, put yourself first and be happy.
You were a part of the pursuit of happiness.
Oh,
And
yes.
see, and there's a smile. Every time you say the title, Mary-Frances goes, yeah. And is that why? I mean, the title itself just describes what you just said, the pursuit of happiness.
You know, it the book, the project itself was very rewarding, just seeing people's journeys of how they overcame their adversities or birth defects or trauma or whatever. The secret of happiness was a God gift to me, because it helped me realize that I don't need to be dependent on somebody. It's not a codependent thing. You can be happy together, but I don't need to rely on you to be happy. I need to find that within myself, and I need to express that within myself and make it come out of myself.
Our business partner is out there, Ann Anderson. She says grandchildren were great and great grandchildren are amazing. I haven't gotten to the great grandchildren yet,
I'll
but
wait.
both, yeah, I can wait a little bit. Anthony, if you're watching, I can wait. He's 18. I can wait. But I want to ask you, you and Ann are both participating grandparents. You know, you don't just show up at holidays and the occasional birthday. You want to know everything that's going on and all of
Mhm.
that. Why is that so important to you to make sure your grandkids are okay and very comfortable and connected to you?
Well, okay, so you had mentioned about my grandson for the summer. I go down to Florida and I pick him up and I bring him here and we share all kinds of experiences because I can send him money, I can send him gifts, and 3 days from now, he's not going to remember any of that. But when he comes up and he talks about who's the first person who took him kayaking, it's me. Who helped him overcome his fear of bugs? It was me. Who helped talk? That's all I do is I talk, and I encourage those open-ended conversations and endless hours of conversations because parents don't have time for that now. And things that I taught my children growing up, they may not have been interested in. My daughter, she did not want to go camping. She was not going to use the restroom in the woods. And, my grandson's like, I want to go camping. I want to go fishing. I want to do this. And, just the same thing when I want to go kayaking. We got out there and he took 3 little paddles and he was ready to quit. And I told him, I said, I told you in the truck on the way over here, if you don't want to do it, don't get on the boat. And by the time we were leaving the lake, he was, of course, we know how grandparents are. He was paddling faster than me and he won the race and is having a great time. So, sharing experiences and I'm going to say outdated experiences is the best thing with grandkids, just to make sure that they have skills that, you never know when you're going to have to paddle. You never know when you're going to have to do anything. I mean, my son taught him how to skin a chicken last year. You never know when you might have to do that.
Wow. And you know me, and I'm a creative person, and I'm sitting here going, oh my goodness, that's Mary-Frances's next book. She's got to do a book, as a grandparent,
It is.
talking and negotiating and being with her grandkids and how to do that. And oh yeah, it's your turn to paddle. I can see it. You and I got to talk. We got to create this illustrated
Well,
book.
the
It'll be
next, the
awesome.
next, the next book is actually One Summer Generational Healing Journey.
See, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. And that's just what you do. You are that person. You are
Yeah.
that person. I can't believe you just said that. That's awesome.
But I love
That's
the paddle
awesome.
idea. We're going to have to look into that one. Yeah,
I'm
it's
here.
teaching. Yeah.
Remember the aunt is here. We'll make that happen for sure. You know what? I love you. I think you're amazing. I think you're one of the strongest people I've met. When
Thank
we
you.
were going to events literally at the edge of COVID, it was still going on. We still had to wear the mask. I remember you coming to an event. We're walking through the hotel and you said, oh yeah, I was in a hospital. I had COVID, da 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 da. And it was from a previous event that you got it. And then you came to the next one. And I'm looking at you like, are you crazy? What, I wouldn't come if I had gotten COVID at a public event. I would still not be going to public events. But nothing stops you. You just move right ahead, and you're not the biggest voice in the room. You're not screaming, "Look at me, look at me." But it's like you have a total loyal following. You have the friends that you have selected. Not
Yeah.
everybody's a friend of Mary-Frances. You have the friend that you have selected, and you move through life like this is my path. And I want to thank you for that because you included me in that circle. And that's my buddy, my sis, and you always support me. always support me. I called you and said, want to do 100-day? You're like, no idea what it is, but if you want me on, I'll be there. You're the absolute best for always hanging out with me. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for being my chosen sister.
You're the best. All right, everybody. Yep, that's my buddy, Mary-Frances. If you want to know more about Mary-Frances, go to tigodirect.com. Send her a message and say, hey, I saw her in a 100-day challenge. It costs you nothing. It costs her nothing. But it's the best way to get in touch with Mary-Frances and say, I've got grandkids. I have fears. I want to figure this out. Or maybe you want to find out about her health journey. Mary-Frances is really cool. If you're straight up with her, she's straight up with you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I want you to come back next time. And as always, I'm Tigo. I'll talk to you next time.